Conversations with the Other Side. In the heart of the city stood an old apartment complex, its walls echoing with the tales of lives lived within its confines. For Lisa, a young woman seeking refuge from life's chaos, this building held the promise of solace. Her days were a blur of work and classes, and her apartment became a haven where she could unwind. The first time Lisa stepped into her new abode, a warm sense of contentment washed over her. The space was adorned with soft hues, vintage furniture, and bookshelves filled with stories waiting to be devoured. It felt like a haven, a place where she could retreat from the demands of her busy life. As weeks turned into months, Lisa settled into her routine. Her days were a whirlwind of work, classes, and endless to-do lists, but every evening, she returned to her sanctuary, a space that offered a respite from life's demands. The hum of the city outside seemed distant here, replaced by the comforting sounds of her own solitude. Yet, life has a way of surprising us when we least expect it. One evening, after an unusually grueling day, Lisa returned home feeling like a tightly wound spring, ready to unravel at the slightest touch. The weight of deadlines, responsibilities, and personal challenges pressed down on her, threatening to engulf her in a wave of exhaustion. Alone in her apartment, Lisa's composure finally crumbled. She sank onto her couch, tears streaming down her face, her shoulders heaving with each sob. It was as if all the pent-up stress and anxiety of the past few weeks had finally found an outlet. She clutched a cushion to her chest, her knuckles turning white as she tried to steady herself. And then, in the midst of her breakdown, she heard it. A faint, rhythmic tapping coming from the adjacent wall. Tap, tap, tap. Lisa's tears froze, and she sat in stunned silence, her heart pounding in her chest. Tap, tap, tap. The tapping continued, each gentle knock resonating through the air. "Hello?" a voice called out, muffled yet distinct. Lisa's breath caught in her throat. She wiped her tears and cleared her throat, trying to steady her voice. "Yes? Are you okay?" The voice on the other side of the wall asked with genuine concern. Lisa's mind raced. Who could it be? She hadn't met any of her neighbors yet, let alone spoken to them. She took a shaky breath. "Yeah, I'm just having a rough day." "I'm sorry to hear that," the voice said. "If you want to talk about it, I'm here to listen." It was an odd offer, and Lisa felt a mix of curiosity and apprehension. But something in the voice on the other end felt comforting, genuine. Gathering her thoughts, she began to speak, pouring out her frustrations, her fears, and her uncertainties. And as she talked, the tapping continued, a quiet rhythm that seemed to underscore her words. The conversation flowed surprisingly easily. Lisa learned that her neighbor had experienced his fair share of challenges too. He spoke about his own daily struggles, the pressures he faced, and the moments of joy he found amidst the chaos. It was a strangely intimate exchange, two strangers baring their souls to each other through the thin barrier of a wall. As the night wore on, Lisa found herself feeling a sense of relief that she hadn't experienced in a long time. The stranger's voice on the other side became a lifeline, a connection to the world outside her own thoughts. Eventually, they said their goodbyes, promising to talk again. And so, night after night, Lisa and her invisible neighbor continued their conversations. The routine became a source of comfort for her, a way to unwind and share the burdens of life with someone who seemed to understand. Their talks covered a wide range of topics: dreams, fears, memories, and everything in between. The tapping of their fingers against the wall became a soothing backdrop, a constant presence in Lisa's otherwise hectic life. As the months passed, Lisa began to feel an odd sense of attachment to her unseen confidant. She had grown accustomed to the familiar sound of his voice, the gentle taps that punctuated their discussions. She found herself looking forward to their nightly talks, eager to hear about his day and share her own experiences. But curiosity gnawed at her. Lisa realized that she had never actually seen the person she had been conversing with for so long. She knew his voice, his stories, but she had never caught even a glimpse of him. It was a mystery she couldn't ignore any longer. One day, Lisa mustered the courage to address the question that had been lingering in her mind. She walked to the apartment complex's front office and approached the receptionist, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes. "I've been talking to my neighbor through the wall, but I've never actually seen him," Lisa admitted, her curiosity getting the better of her. The receptionist gave her a knowing smile. "Ah, you must mean Mr. Hargrove. He's a bit of an enigma, isn't he?" Lisa nodded eagerly. "Yes, that's him. Is he always away or something?" The receptionist's expression grew somber. "Actually, Mr. Hargrove passed away a few years ago. The apartment has been vacant ever since." Lisa's heart skipped a beat, her mind reeling from the revelation. "What? But I've been talking to him. I've heard his voice." The receptionist's smile faded. "It's not uncommon for people to feel a presence after someone's passing. Sometimes our connections with others are so strong that they linger, even after they're gone." A chill ran down Lisa's spine, a mixture of awe and unease. She thanked the receptionist and left the front office in a daze. It couldn't be true, could it? She had shared her deepest thoughts, her struggles and triumphs, with someone who was no longer among the living. That night, as she returned to her apartment, Lisa hesitated before the wall that had become the canvas for their conversations. The tapping began once again, the familiar rhythm that had brought her solace for so long. But this time, there was something different about it. The voice that had been her lifeline had a new weight to it, a sense of longing and sadness that she couldn't ignore. "Hello?" the voice called out, a hint of uncertainty in its tone. Lisa took a deep breath, her fingers trembling slightly. "Hey," she replied, her voice a mixture of emotions. There was a pause on the other end, as if the voice was gathering its thoughts. "I need to tell you something," it finally said. Lisa's heart ached. "Go ahead." "I'm not really here. Not in the way you think," the voice admitted, its tone tinged with sorrow. A lump formed in Lisa's throat. "What do you mean?" There was a sigh, a sound that carried a lifetime of regrets. "I passed away a while ago, but something kept me here, a need to connect, to be heard." Tears welled up in Lisa's eyes. She had suspected it, but hearing the truth was a different kind of revelation. "Why me? Why did you choose to talk to me?" "I sensed your loneliness, your struggles," the voice explained. "And in some strange way, our conversations brought me a semblance of peace. I wasn't ready to let go of the world, of the chance to make a difference, even if it was in a small way." The weight of the revelation settled over Lisa, a mixture of sadness and wonder. She had formed a bond, a connection that transcended the boundaries of life and death. What happens now? The voice on the other side sounded distant, as if it was fading away. "I think it's time for me to move on, to find whatever comes next. Thank you, Lisa, for listening, for giving me a chance to be heard." And then, with a final tap against the wall, the presence was gone. Lisa was left alone with her thoughts, a whirlwind of emotions and questions that had no easy answers. The apartment that had once been a haven had become a nexus of the extraordinary, a place where the boundaries between the living and the departed had blurred. Months passed, and Lisa found herself reminiscing about the strange and wonderful connection she had shared with a voice from beyond. She had never been able to explain it to anyone, for fear of being dismissed as delusional. But she knew what she had experienced, the comfort and solace that had come from those conversations. In time, Lisa moved on with her life, carrying the memory of her spectral neighbor with her. She found a sense of peace, a reminder that even in the most unlikely of circumstances, human connection could transcend the constraints of the physical world. And as she looked back on those nights of conversation, of shared secrets and whispered confessions, she couldn't help but smile at the beautiful, mysterious, and haunting chapter that had unfolded within the walls of her dream apartment. But there was something else that lingered, a deeper understanding of the stranger she had come to know. As the months went by, Lisa couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to Mr. Hargrove's story than she had initially realized. The haunting loneliness he had carried, the longing for connection that had bound them, all seemed to point toward a history she had yet to uncover. Driven by curiosity and a growing sense of empathy, Lisa began to dig into the past. She visited local archives, combed through records, and spoke to longtime residents of the apartment complex. And slowly, like putting together the pieces of a puzzle, a clearer picture emerged. A picture of John Hargrove's life before the Whispers. John had grown up in an orphanage, a place that should have provided him with companionship, but had only amplified his isolation. His childhood had been marked by longing for a family, for friendships, for connections that had eluded him. Despite his efforts, he found himself perpetually on the fringes, watching as others formed bonds he couldn't seem to grasp. As he entered adulthood, John's yearning for connection had intensified. He ventured out into the world with an open heart, seeking out relationships that would alleviate his loneliness. But time and again, his attempts were met with disappointment and heartache. Rejection after rejection only deepened the emptiness within him. And so, burdened by a lifetime of isolation and the weight of his unfulfilled desires, John had made the heartbreaking decision to end his own life. He had chosen the apartment complex, a place that had witnessed the stories of countless lives, as the backdrop for his final act. Lisa couldn't help but feel a profound sadness as she unraveled the chapters of John's life. She realized that in their connection, she had unknowingly become the lifeline he had desperately needed, an anchor to the world he had been unable to fully embrace. She understood now why their bond had felt so strong, so immediate. For John, she was more than just a sympathetic ear. She was a chance at connection, a chance he had never truly experienced in life. The realization brought with it a mix of emotions: compassion for the pain John had endured, gratitude for the connection they had shared, and a renewed appreciation for the power of human relationships. John's whispers, once haunting, now seemed to carry a message of hope, a reminder that even in the face of life's greatest challenges, connection, understanding, and empathy could bridge the gaps that separated us. As time marched forward, Lisa continued to carry John's story with her. She found solace in the memory of their conversations, in the reminder that she had made a difference in his existence, no matter how fleeting. And while the apartment complex retained its air of mystery, Lisa had uncovered a profound truth, one that would forever remind her of the fragile beauty of human connection. The whispers beyond the wall were not merely echoes of the past. They were a conversation that spanned lifetimes, that defied the confines of mortality. And in the connection between Lisa and John, two souls found solace, healing, and a bond that transcended the boundaries of life and death itself. The apartment complex, once a place of solitude, had become a testament to the enduring power of empathy, understanding, and the connections that can form even in the most unexpected of circumstances.